Hazel Greenbrier had been a mediocre witch for exactly 307 years, 200 if you didn't count the decades she spent sulking in her swamp cottage after every spell misfire. She could identify 1,600 poisonous mushrooms by taste alone, summon a thundercloud for dramatic effect, and whistle the entire overture to Phantom of the Opera backward. What she could not do, according to her former coven, was cast a curse that actually worked. Her banishment notice delivered by flying espresso brown owl was curt. Dear Hazel, please desist from further participation in communal hexing. The last frog you tried to transform into a prince is still lobbying for amphibian labor rights. Sincerely, the executive board. Hazel, therefore, needed a day job. She found one 3 downtown blocks away, tucked between a yoga studio that specialized in goat-assisted downward dog and a vintage record store that only sold Scandinavian polka. The chalkboard sign out front read, "Bean there, hicks that coffee, so good it's spooky." Hazel suspected the owner meant spooky in the seasonal pumpkin spice sense rather than bubbling cauldron of infernal souls sense, but semantics had never stopped her before. Inside, Hazel inhaled the aroma of roasted Arabica and felt something stir in her heart. The smell was not unlike the petrified bat dropping she used to steep for insomnia tonic, only friendlier. The barista behind the counter, a short woman with a bob haircut the color of oversteeped tea, looked up. Her name tag said Pen EY, she/her/CEO/please don't ask about Bitcoin. You hiring? Hazel asked, setting her warty leather satchel on the counter with a thump that rattled the biscotti jar. Penny eyed the satchel, from which a tiny puff of green smoke escaped. She chose optimism. Can you make latte art? Hazel conjured a swirl of violet sparks over her palm. I can put a flamingo wearing a top hat on milk foam. You're in, Penny said, because minimum wage rarely attracted talent willing to wear the shop's branded apron, a garish orange garment that read Grunts for Sacrification. Thus began Hazel's career as a barista. She approached espresso machines with the reverence most witches reserve for sacrificial altars. The portafilter became her miniature cauldron, the steam wand her scepter of bubbles. Within a week, she'd labeled every flavor syrup with Latin species names, Manila as Orchis persicula, caramel as Saccharum stachyllicum, hazelnut as Mycelphium, obviously. Customers complained at first. Hazel's cappuccinos tasted earthy or unexpectedly herbaceous, or, in one Yelp review, like the smell of a medieval apothecary having an identity crisis. Yet mysteriously they kept coming back. The mystery resolved itself on Thursday. A 9:05 a.m. lawyer, Mark stumbled in, eyeballs vibrating from an all-nighter spent redlining a 147-page contract for a cybersecurity startup that sold invisible keyboards. Large double-shot latte, extra hot, he croaked. Hazel, still learning corporate jargon, interpreted extra hot as involve an actual fire spirit, she whispered to the steam, added a pinch of powdered salamander scale and served the drink with a jaunty cinnamon stick. Mark took 3 gulps, dashed out and immediately argued his way out of a parking ticket with such incendiary eloquence that the meter maid signed over her whistle rights. He called later to thank Hazel for the caffeine. Unaware he'd been breathing faint embers every time he said the word, whereas. At 11:27, college student Brianna, double major in microeconomics and influencer marketing, ordered an oat milk caramel macchiato. Hazel, feeling whimsical, drizzled in half a teaspoon of pixie dust. 30 seconds after ingesting it, Brianna posted a selfie that literally sparkled. Her follower count leaped by 2,000 before she left the premises. By 2:05, old Mr. Eldridge shuffled in, requesting his usual decaf. He left with a mild anti-gravitation charm mingled into the foam and spent the afternoon floating 2 inches above the sidewalk, delighted his knees no longer cracked like microwave popcorn. Word traveled quicker than gossip at a coven bake sale. Customers whispered that Bean There Hexed That had special beans or NASA-grade caffeine. Some suspected illicit energy powder. None suggested literal magic. Everyone knew that real witches were all on reality TV now. Only Penny noticed the suspicious correlation between Hazel's shifts and the exponential spike in repeat customers. She confronted her new hire during closing procedures, which consisted of sweeping, mopping, and banishing the espresso machine's resident gremlin. It's union only allowed overtime on weekends. Hayes, Penny began by week 2. They were already on affectionate nicknames. Did you study mixology? Your drinks are doing things. Hazel wiped the counter with a rag that occasionally grew teeth. All coffee does things. It wakes mortals, it fuels existential dread, it lubricates subreddits. Sure, but your cappuccino made that tax accountant sing karaoke in fluent ancient Sumerian. That's still a dead language last I checked, Hazel said. No one was harmed. In fact, the Yelp review called it transformative. Penny opened her mouth, closed it, filed an investigative spreadsheet in her mental inbox, and decided, like most small business owners living 3 rent increases from bankruptcy, to let the profitable weirdness ride. Hazel, emboldened, expanded the menu. She introduced Moon Phase Mocha, each quarter mug adjusted your mood to match the lunar cycle. Flat white lightning, guaranteed to shave 5 seconds off your 5K time, provided you finish the cup before mile 2. Pumpkin Hex Latte came with edible sigils that summoned autumnal nostalgia powerful enough to make grown lumberjacks wear scarves indoors. Regulars quickly developed favorite side effects. Mark the lawyer swore by the espresso deposition. One tiny ristretto shot imbued him with radical candor. He inadvertently negotiated a merger by admitting every board member's deepest insecurity, but somehow made them grateful. Brianna adored the matcha manifestation, which supercharged her vision board. 2 sips and avocado toast literally appeared on a plate beside her inspiration quotes. Mr. Eldridge loved the cortado of youthful recollection. Each swallow unlocked a perfectly vivid memory of his late wife's laughter. Eldridge tipped 20% plus a pocket-warmed butterscotch every time. Business boomed. Hazel's latte potions turned morning rush hour into a carnival of minor miracles. Customers flitted about caffeinated and charmed, leaving 5-star reviews like, "My cold brew cured my social anxiety, and I'm fairly sure I communed with a squirrel deity." Their only serious hiccup arrived in the form of Lyle Blenkinsop, health inspector. He appeared on a Tuesday disguised as an unassuming man in a beige windbreaker and thick notebook. Hazel knew immediately her wart on the left elbow tingled whenever someone with bureaucratic power approached. "Morning," Lyle said. "I'm here to conduct an unscheduled inspection." "Morning," Hazel chirped, slapping a smile on her face like hastily applied sunscreen. Penny emerged from the back, nearly colliding with a stack of recyclable to-go cups that occasionally rearranged themselves into motivational quotes. "You've got this" became "Sue the Gut Vicks" when they glitched. Lyle began his checklist. Thermometer calibration normal, milk storage acceptable. First aid kit, though Hazel had replaced the sting relief with Phoenix tears, Penny convinced Lyle it was a new brand of antiseptic. All seemed well, until he spotted the alternative sweeteners shelf, which contained vials labeled moon shards, mermaid salt, and discount unicorn dust, keto-friendly. "What are these?" Lyle asked. Hazel spoke first. "Artisanal mix-ins." "Are they FDA approved?" "Define FD&A," Hazel parried. Penny seized the moment. "Organic, farm to table, low glycemic index." She thrust a sample cup toward Lyle. "Try our seasonal Twilight cold brew." Hazel silently prayed to whichever minor deity oversaw restaurant inspections. It was probably Hygeia, but Hazel hadn't paid her temple dues. Lyle sipped. His eyes widened. A luminous aura sprouted like bioluminescent algae around his windbreaker. He looked up, pausing mid-checklist, and murmured, "You know, life is too short to count floor tiles." He closed the notebook, walked outside, and hugged the city parking meter. Then he floated away, humming Bolero. "Well," Penny said after a long silence, "I guess we passed." "Technically," Hazel nodded. "He ascended." After that, Penny instituted a new rule. No sampling product for inspectors unless absolutely necessary. Otherwise, management stayed blissfully unconcerned. Hazel, however, could not resist perfecting her craft. She experimented after hours, combining latte foam with potion bases that once took moon cycles to brew. Espresso cut the steeping time to minutes. Her crowning achievement was the affogato of absolute truth, a shot poured over gelato that forced drinkers to speak their deepest secrets. She wisely poured the prototype down the sink, after revealing to herself she still wept during insurance commercials. The next challenge arrived in a green mermaid low cup. A venti corporate spy from Monolith Coffee Chain strutted in, wearing a suit the color of arrogance. He ordered a plain drip. Hazel complied, withholding all pixie dust. The spy sniffed the brew, grimaced, and left without tasting, leaving behind a note on the community bulletin board. Soon to open, Starboard, real coffee, no hocus pocus. The threat of competition sent Penny into a marketing frenzy. Stickers, loyalty cards that awarded a free shot of Shazam after 9 purchases, a neon sign that blinked, "Try our lattice, you'll levitate with joy," which was not even hyperbole. Corporate war escalated. Starboard printed flyers declaring, "Caffeine shouldn't come with side effects, except jitters." Hazel countered by enchanting Bean. "There's windows to show each passerby a reflection of themselves wearing a superhero cape, courtesy of the Heroic House Brew." Foot traffic doubled. Starboard responded with a lawsuit alleging deceptive advertising and reckless distribution of intangible coolness. Mark the lawyer, fueled by espresso deposition, defeated the complaint in small claims court by cross-examining Starboard's CEO until she confessed her lifelong fear of garden gnomes. Case dismissed. Though victorious, Hazel noticed something troubling. Her potion's side effects were stretching past temporary. Brianna's sparkles now followed her even in dark rooms. Mark breathed embers whenever he yawned. Mr. Eldridge had to anchor his shoes with fishing weights to avoid floating away on windy days. The enchantments, fueled by constant caffeine, were compounding. Hazel convened an emergency meeting after closing, just Penny, herself, and the shop's resident mop. Animated to clean autonomously, but present for morale. "I've brewed beyond moderation," Hazel admitted. "If we don't dilute the magic, our customers may experience semi-permanent whimsy." "Is that dangerous?" Penny asked. "To them? Maybe not. To the masquerade of mundanity?" Hazel grimaced. "Picture the evening news, covering a man who toasts bread by exhaling. They brainstormed a solution over a pot of decaf, so non-enchanted it tasted like warm beige." Hazel proposed an antidote Americano equal, parts water, espresso, and sensible responsibility. Penny suggested they rebrand it as a limited-time cleanse. Americans loved cleanses. They rolled out the new drink next morning with signage. "Reset your aura, try our neutralizer blend." Customers assumed it would flush toxins or, at minimum, Instagram followers who posted too many baby photos. Most complied out of curiosity or because the purchase came with a free reusable straw. Side effects subsided. Brianna's sparkles dimmed to a tasteful glimmer suitable for evening wear. Mark's embers cooled to aromatic smoke. He used it to toast marshmallows during conference calls. Mr. Eldridge regained gravity on weekdays but could still levitate enough to reach high shelves at the grocery store. Everyone called it balance. Hazel thought her troubles were over. Fate, like a frappuccino machine left unattended, decided to explode at peak rush. Friday morning? Line out the door. Local newspaper rumored a feature article. Hazel, prepping 15 drinks simultaneously, steam wand shrieking like a banshee at karaoke, accidentally grabbed the wrong jar. Not unicorn dust light, but pure, uncut, full throttle horn shavings. And it went, glittering into a batch of mocha choca lattiayas. The resultant lattes went to 3 customers, a kindergarten teacher, a skateboard courier, and, worst Penny herself, who downed the mocha because managers deserve perks. 37 seconds later, the cafe erupted in technicolor chaos. The kindergarten teacher began emanating a pastel aura that induced nap time in anyone within 5 feet. The courier gained instantaneous teleportation but no sense of direction, blinking chaotically between broom closet and patio. Penny sprouted an actual unicorn horn, latte-colored right from her forehead, glitter dripping onto her iPad. "Hazel!" Penny bellowed, voice echoing with unexpected reverb. "Why am I a walking mythical creature?" Hazel's heart did that thing where it tried to evacuate through her sinuses. She dashed to the back room, rummaged through ingredients, flinging jars. Gorgon milk expired, basilisk. Basil, too bitey. Dragon fruit, just a fruit. The courier teleported smack into a stack of ceramic mugs. They shattered like glass xylophone chords. The teacher's nap aura felled half the customers, who slumped over tables in peaceful delight. Hazel emerged with a tiny vial of Mundanium An, ultra-rare neutralizing mineral that canceled magic but tasted like unsalted oatmeal left outside during hail. She had just enough for one drink. She faced Penny, whose horn had begun to glow like a novelty straw. "This will reverse it," Hazel said, "but it might also kill all pleasure in coffee forever." Penny considered. She stroked the horn, producing faint chimes. "We're a coffee shop," she said. "We can't risk making coffee unfun." Hazel swallowed. "Then we harness it." Cue montage, Hazel improvising a containment spell using chalk around the espresso bar. Penny redirecting woozy customers to the cozy corner. Courier teleporting on command to fetch items. Teacher's nap aura calming panicked bystanders. Hazel climbed atop the counter, raised the Mundanium vial, and poured exactly 3 droplets into the portafilter, tamping with a flourish. She pulled a single shot, its crema shimmering paradoxically dull. Then she added 1 pump of hope syrup, extracted from first kisses, a dusting of powdered resilience, and steamed milk heart-shaped. She handed it to Penny. "Drink." Penny sipped. The horn shrank, not vanishing but settling into a cute, latte-swirled nub above her eyebrow. Subtle enough to hide beneath bangs, flashy enough for brand identity. "I feel balanced." The courier, still teleporting, collided softly with the Napora teacher, which equalized their powers. He teleported only toward destinations he deliberately named, and she induced naps solely in people already sleepy. "Perfect." Hazel exhaled. Crisis averted. Customers awakened gradually, some applauding. Others asked if the unicorn latte would be on the menu. Penny glanced at Hazel, then at the residual sparkles on her iPod, and grinned. "Coming soon," she announced. "The cornucopia quarter-horn dust optional. Liability waiver required." 1 month later, being there, Hex that achieved legendary status. Tourists lined up around the block hoping for a taste of regulated enchantment. Hazel, now officially head brew witch, attended a city-approved magic and beverage certification course, acing practical exams. She turned her professor into a very satisfied ferret. Temporarily, Mark the lawyer drafted comprehensive terms and conditions for all potion lattes. Brianna managed their social media. Sparkles calibrated to optimal engagement. Mr. Eldridge worked weekends as a floating billboard. Penny embraced her role as mild unicorn. She wore specialty hats with horn holes and rebranded the cafe's logo, a coffee cup topped with foam art in the shape of a horn-bearing Barista. Sales doubled. As for Hazel, she no longer considered herself a mediocre witch. She'd discovered her niche. Everyday magic served at 145 degrees Fahrenheit with latte art that winked. She still couldn't curse anyone effectively. Attempts resulted in recipients developing better posture, but that hardly mattered. Every now and then she brewed a simple Americano with no potion, sat on the patio, and watched customers exit. Some floating, some sparkling, all smiling. Hazel sipped, savoring the ordinary taste, and thought, for a witch who once accidentally enchanted a frog into a civil rights activist, I've finally found something that works. Then she caught Penny observing her, horn glinting. Penny raised her reusable cup. Hazel raised hers back. Neither spoke the obvious truth, that magic, like caffeine, is best when shared responsibly, and with the occasional dash of foam art, shaped like flamingos wearing top hats. The 2 clinked cups, and across the street, the starboard location quietly closed its doors, unable to compete with spells, sparkles, and customer service that quite literally levitated above the rest.